Shalom, everybody, and welcome to the Yishai Fleisher Show, broadcasting live from Judea to the world. You're a part of it wherever you are. And shalom, and welcome to a cold Fleisher home. And it's just not because of our house is cold; it's just generally really cold. And welcome to the lady of the manor, Malka Fleisher.
Yes,
shalom and welcome.
Hello. I mean, we're doing not bad. It's not like it's freezing cold. We're not walking around in our winter coats or anything.
No, it's just been a long day for me.
It's just cold out there,
right? And it's cold out there, and it's been, as I've discussed, like a week long of well, more than a week of just real cold and winteriness and hail, sleet, a little bit of snow to the
Don't
kids
say
disappointed.
Snow.
Yeah, the snow has been a source of
a sore point here in
an
this
irritant here, because it has not fully arrived. And so that's, it's been a blessing for us. And our house, our apartment here in Judea actually sprung about 3 leaks.
Not real leaks, little damp patches. There's no dripping.
That's right. Or just little drops, not big drops.
Well, it's been raining and raining and raining and raining.
That's right. And my project in Hebron sprung get leaks from everywhere.
Oh, wow.
At first it was holding up strong, not a leak. And then it was just everything got so soaked through.
Right, everything's soaked through.
And there's something actually I really like about having leaks in the house. I really do. There's like something about it that I like. I like that we, this household doesn't feel like, we defeat the elements. We are impervious to nature. It's like, no, we actually live in a kind of tent. It's a little glorified.
Well,
it's a glorified tent. It's a permanent tent, if you will.
I mean, you're making it sound like we live in a cold, leaky tent.
I'm saying that when there is cold and leakiness, my body is a little bit happy about it. Because I'm just like, good. There's something in the lizard brain's like, yes, that makes perfect sense. Okay, it's true that I've been wanting to hide under the covers and not go to work for the last few days because there's like this feeling like, I call it the bear brain, not the lizard brain, is like
wants to hibernate.
It's time to hibernate. We don't go out.
I made a lot more dishes for you today because
I noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do the dishes in the house for people who don't know. That's our little deal. I cook the food and many other sundry things, and you do the dishes.
Yep.
And so there's a lot more because I made lentil soup today and I made a noodle kugel today.
My God,
because we have Ashkenazi kids.
My God. And I was
you need those like wintry foods. I made real hot chocolate with like melted chocolate bars.
Oh God.
Yeah, you missed all that today while you were out.
Good for me. That sounds very caloric.
Yeah, but it was good.
I'm trying to stay away from sugar right now. In fact, I ate a lot of okra at the Knesset today. I was at the Knesset and I saw them making okra over there. And I love me a good okra at the Knesset. The Knesset kitchen, by the way, is, shall we say, on the Sephardier side. It's
cool.
It is definitely like, it's not like.
Do you know how you say okra in Hebrew, Yishai?
Bamia.
Bamia. It comes from the Lord.
That's right.
That is what they should be serving at the Knesset.
That's right. I'm just saying the Knesset is not like this Ashkenazi type thing. It's not. It's a Middle Eastern kitchen. It's which I like. Of course I like that. But you know what? As we're talking about the elements and we're talking about the little leaks in the house and the joy of the leaks, the joy of feeling that we're still part of nature but we still can overcome it or deal with it. I can't help but thinking about the number is not known. Is it tens of thousands? Is it hundreds of thousands? I'm going to guess that's hundreds of thousands of people that are right now suffering in Syria and Turkey when this great earthquake hit. By the way, I wish earthquakes had names. They have names like tornadoes have names.
I don't think they named it.
Storms have names. I feel like earthquake. The earthquake, Erdogan hit real hard. And you saw the videos of all those, houses falling. The what's it called? The strength of the magnitude of this earthquake was so strong. It's unbelievable to think about it. Here in Israel, tons of my friends, my mom, my friend Alex, my friend Steve, my friend who else? My friend Uri. In Hebron felt the earthquake and were woken up from it. No, not me and you. That's not.
I resent that also. Also, over the last few days. So not to overly make light during this situation, I just want to give a little bit of the facts for now. They found at least 11,000 deceased in Turkey, in Syria. A contingent of 125 emergency response people with 10 tons of supplies went to Turkey to try and extract some of the people. The people on the ground evidently are outraged, not because the Israelis are there. I haven't heard about their response to the Israelis, but they're outraged because of the low response rate by the Turkish government after all these buildings fell down. As of course, we know that there were two separate, very severe earthquakes, 7.4 and 7.5, I believe, magnitude, something like that, or 7.5, 7.8. And apparently for years in Turkey, there's been instituted like an earthquake tax because they were supposed to be preparing for this stuff. And then they had their big earthquakes and there was no major response. The people are enraged. Israel went, amongst other countries, went to assist. And so far, our team has pulled out, they said, 5 people out of the rubble, which on the one hand is like absolutely amazing. I mean, to pull out 5 human beings, that's those people are so important, right? To each family, those people are everything. But at the same time, it's like 5 people, right? It's like 125 people went, and they were able to take out 5 people. The process of pulling people out of these like collapsed buildings is something unbelievable.
Yeah, you need tractors, you need balloons,
and all kinds of like drilling and sawing and burning. And
things shift, and you
right.
can crush somebody else.
It's very dangerous.
It's dangerous, and it's crazy.
And just to see the devastation, and so the devastation is so great. Let's not even discuss the fact that there's all these like homeless people and people who are just plain injured. They're not dead, right? But they're just hurt. So Israel is also going to be establishing with another 225, something like that, people. And like they're already sending like barges of supplies out to Turkey right now from Israel to create one of Israel's most famous acts of kindness that it does around the world, which is a field hospital.
A MASH.
Israel is particularly skilled and successful at field hospitals in disaster zones.
Right.
And there was word, there's not a lot of reporting on it now. There was word that Israel's going to also be providing some assistance in Syria, which would be unprecedented. But I don't know if that's
they've hushed that up.
It's not being discussed overly.
Yeah, it's really tough.
But I've been thinking. The truth is, we have
there's like this cold spell,
right?
There's this
here,
winter storm.
so here our kids are like snow, right? They're like itching for the snow and they're disappointed. I'm having to like calm a lot of people down and stuff. Yeah. I think I did tell the kids.
We should be like let's
north
pray for
of
no
us
snow. Right.
in Turkey,
right,
and in Syria, where it's like 3 degrees Fahrenheit colder, something like that. They are getting snow. They're getting snow and rain. There's a big storm front that's been sitting on Israel. For us, it's been a very big blessing for the most part. Yes, we have a little bit of wet patches in a couple places in our ceiling. But aside from that, it's really been a blessing. We needed it very badly. But in Turkey and Syria, could not have come at a worse time.
Mm-hmm.
And, we have a complicated relationship with both of those countries. We had a lot of tension with Turkey after the Mavi Marmara incident, in which they sent a Gaza blockade ship, and there was a whole incident of violence between quote unquote peace activists on the ship who were armed, and then our naval soldiers went and boarded the ship, and they were attacked. That was a major source what's the word? It froze our relations. And of course, Syria, we've never had a good relationship with the country of Syria. And yet I can't help but find myself really hurting for these people. Just to think that they were all just in bed, just living their lives and doing their thing. And suddenly everything's flipped on its head, and just such a tragedy, really.
Right. Well, Erdogan has been an anti-Israel jihadist for most of his career. Sometimes he flips and he goes nice, he gives us nice face, but he still supports all these organizations within Israel that try to undermine our sovereignty. And if you have ever been to on Turkish television, I've been to on Turkish television, and I basically don't go on there anymore because it is just vehemently anti-Israel, vehement, but of course the majority of Turkish people are well known that they have a friendly attitude towards Israel, and
Israelis like to go on vacation in Turkey.
Right. So that's for sure that we feel that our hearts go out to them, and Syrian people as well, and so many people that have been affected are also Syrian dissidents. That
don't want this protracted war with Israel.
Not only that, they have a war with
they have a war with their own
Bashar
government.
Assad. Right. And the instability there. So anyway, and when you think about these earthquakes, you also think about the earthquakes that Israel's had itself.
Right. We've had 3 earthquakes in the last 24 hours.
Quakes. Let's call them
they're counted.
Yeah,
they're earthquakes.
Seismic.
They're low level earthquakes at in the 3+ level earthquakes.
Right, and there's tectonic plates, the stuff that the continents sit on are just moving around right now.
Right, there's a shift going on in this area.
Yeah, the ground is moving underneath our feet here. So literally.
So it's a little bit scary because
it's definitely a little scary.
Also in Israel, there's been talk for years and years and years about how we're quote unquote due for a major earthquake, God forbid.
Big earthquakes have happened around here.
Right.
They flattened spot many times. And it's at Jerusalem, and it's at Hebron, and these things have shaken the lives up and changed community makeup for a long time, and very serious stuff, and it's amazing, when these forces come to be. When you think about Ukraine, and I'm just like, is Ukraine ever going to come back to be the kind of country that it was? It wasn't such a healthy country in the first place, but certainly now emptied by 1 million people have left Ukraine. And my mother-in-law, my brother's mother-in-law, just arrived from Ukraine to Israel, and she's coming for a visit. Maybe she'll consider even staying here. I don't know. But the point is that. There's these changes, and the same thing now with Turkey. Maybe this Erdogan, won't be there anymore, and after this thing, maybe that'll be a casualty of this earthquake,
right?
And maybe that'll bring for better times. But in any case, right now a lot of people are suffering, and it's I think it behooves us to pray for their welfare and the children that are suffering right now in the cold, and you know what, Malka? Do you know what I think about in these moments?
What?
I get so angry inside because I think to myself, Amnesty International and all these organizations that give us a hard time day in and day out, Doctors Without Borders. I think to myself, I don't want to see tomorrow one stupid Doctors Without Borders a Jeep driving around Hebron. Go to Turkey, go to help people, go to do a little bit of what you're supposed to do, and leave us alone. There is no big Palestinian crisis. The whole thing is a made-up sham. Go to where there's an earthquake that, right now, it's tens of thousands of people, but I'm sure at the end of this thing, we're going to talk about even bigger numbers. Okay, go deal with real things. Be real. And all you media people that are all day long harassing me because Minister Ben-Gvir wants to take away the pitas from murderous terrorists, and you're all reporting on that. Go tell a story about what's happening in the real world. Okay, nobody cares. Nobody should care about if terrorists are eating fresh pita or not. Okay, that's exactly the point. They don't need to be eating fresh pita. They can eat stale pita. Somebody told me, by the way, don't take away their pita. They can bake their pita. You put it in a room. They can have it after 3 days. Okay, you can have your pita if it's because there's.
I'm pretty confident we serve food at the I was gonna say hotel.
Yeah.
At the prisons.
My point is sometimes the world says to you, come deal with a real thing. And all the, and when the American State Department, when the Secretary Blinken shows up in town, he's like, the most important thing is that we have a 2-state solution because that's what the international community wants. I want to be like, why don't you go to Chicago, inner city Chicago, and deal with the fact that last year the number of inner city murderers is numbered at 595, which is 3 times more, maybe 4 times more, than all the casualties we had in the big Israel-Palestinian conflict that you are so confident about how to fix. Why don't you go to your inner city, Mr. Secretary, and deal with your problems? And, you're just dealing with foreign stuff? That's fine. Go to Ciudad Juarez. Go to Ciudad Tijuana and go over there and deal with the 3,000 people that are murdered every single year, and leave us alone with your great Mr. Solution. You clearly don't know how to deal with the real humanitarian crisis, okay? So leave your faux, how to solve problems, problem solving, fly on the presidential jet and come over here and tell us exactly what to do. Just go back. Just go back down there. Go be real for a minute. Go deal with real problems and get off our back. Get out of your obsession with us and go help real people with real things and leave our good country alone. That's what I want to say about that.
Yes.
Malka, today's show is dedicated to somebody very special who passed away last week. And his name was Mark Golub. Mark Golub was an American rabbi, media entrepreneur, television personality, and educator. He created the television channel Jewish Broadcasting Service, used to be called Shalom TV, and also the first Russian-language television channel produced in America, RTN, Russian Television Network of America. He was the rabbi of Chavura Eitz Chaim in Stamford, Connecticut, the host of the L'chaim show, which I appeared on at least 3 times.
Right.
And he was a guy that came from a more liberal background, and yet and was on the liberal side of the political spectrum, and yet had a tremendous rapport with nationalist people like myself. And he was just a good man.
Yeah, he was a nice man. He was just a nice Jewish man.
Yeah, he was just a nice Jewish man and an educator.
Right.
And a lover of Yahadut.
And he tried to start something beautiful for Jews in America to have their own TV station.
That's right. And Mark was a friend. And I was just one of those heroic type Jews. He wasn't he didn't practice the exact kind of Judaism that I practice. He didn't have the same political opinions that I exactly have. But he was a man that I respected. And a little later on the show, we're going to play a segment from my appearance on L'chaim.
That's nice.
With Mark Golub. So that's who I dedicate the show today. And I also ask everybody to pray for the folks in Syria and Turkey who are suffering. Malka, another issue that I wanted to cover with you today is something that we missed. We didn't miss it at home, but we missed talking about it last week. There were so many things going on. And that was the minor holiday of Tu B'Shvat, which is the, for lack of a better word, the Arbor Day. And I'm speaking for the trees, and I'm just saying
I think you said that last time.
And we had this beautiful holiday, and Malka, once again, your Kuma, that's our original Aliyah organization's name, your original Tu B'Shvat Seder that you wrote up so many years ago, came out, and you edit it from time to time.
I gotta re-edit it again. Every year I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I gotta fix that. I gotta fix that. I gotta fix that.
Put it out as a pamphlet and you'll get excited about
that's
it.
That's
true. And we went to my mom's house and we ate the fruits with the peels and the fruits without the peels, fruits with the big pits, fruit with the tiny little pits, fruits that are totally edible, fruits that are, parts inedible, and the holiest, fruit of them all, which is the etrog and the 7 species. And we celebrated the land of Israel and the flourishing of the land of Israel, which is the greatest sign of them all. There's 2 signs. You want to believe in God?
I do.
Here's the signs. Here's the signs, my friend. It's really that simple. Here are the signs for belief in God.
Go.
If you want to believe in God, all you have to see is the survival of the Jewish people. The continued survival of the Jewish people through thick and thin and persecution and dispersion, and our return to the land is really stage 1 is just the survival of the Jewish people. That's proof positive of God. And proof of redemption, our sages tell us that there's no greater proof of redemption than the flourishing of the trees and the fruits and the grasses of the land of Israel. when you see the flourishing, you see the fruits of the land of Israel, you'll know that that's the redemptive period. So that's basically it. You want to believe in God? Look to the Jews. Be like, they have survived. There's only one way that that's possible. They are a godly force. Also, you can all look at another thing, which is the amount of hate out there for the Jews. Irrational hate. That is also a proof.
Unbelievable. This, in fact, just today on Twitter, I was having a hard time because there was this one guy from the United Kingdom who, he likes to call me a settler, right? And so we got into an argument about something, and he basically was like, oh, yeah, well, I've been to Hebron a bunch of times, and I've seen you aggressively approaching Palestinians there. This happened today.
Okay.
And I was just like, no, you haven't. And like, who are these people that I aggressively approach? What year was this? Where were you? Where was I? What is the story that you're so sure that I aggressively approach Palestinians? It's just like, are you kidding me? Like, have you ever met me? Do you have any clue who I am, what I stand for, how I deal with people of all different kinds of people? Like, you have no earthly clue. And I was not shocked, but yes, shocked. I don't know, somewhere in the middle there, by the readiness to just flat out lie. Like, this is a lie. Like, whatever this guy said, I assure you that I have never approached Palestinians aggressively in Hebron. That has never happened.
Oh,
no, but he, as a person who like has some followers, he said this out loud, that I aggressively approached Palestinians when he was in Hebron. And I'm like, I don't think so. And he's like, well, you're really hard to miss or something. And I'm just like, wow, like, you literally you've never even seen me in your life.
I think that you once aggressively approached the storefront when you wanted a bag there. You may have walked in and been like, I really want this bag. Can I buy it from you? Maybe. Could that be it?
No, I don't do that either.
I'm just joking, Malka. It's all kishkush balabush, as we say. Shtuyot b'mitzak vaniot. It's all a bunch of hooey.
No, but their readiness to go far outside the bounds of basic morality.
Right.
Basic morality.
Right.
Is eye-opening.
When they ever cover Hebron, no matter what they do, they have these tricks. And their biggest tricks are, number one, they somehow like either push to the side or just completely X out the fact that Jewish people have been living in Hebron for 3,500 years. They somehow miss that point. And then they miss our relative size. They're like, there are some streets in which Arabs can't walk freely. I'm like, yeah, it's one little ghetto street within this giant 20 square kilometer city. We have one street which we live on defensively, and that's why we're ghettoized, and there's really not...
Right. Do you want to take pictures, sorrowful pictures of all the streets that Jews can't walk down in Hebron? Right.
And then I'm like, and they're like, frustration has brought out some violence on the Palestinian side.
Just now.
I'm like... No. See what it is. It's not frustration. They're like loaded, driving, Mercedes cars and with these big houses. So they're not frustrated about that. And they don't. When they go on these terror sprees, they leave these wills, and they're like, "A jihad. We are. Allah is great, and Muhammad is his prophet, and we will get rid of the Zionist cancer and replace it with Palestine." And I'm like, this is not about rights. It's not about rights. This is about jihadism, okay? This is about Islamic ideology coupled with a Nazi type like Arab nationalism. It's a fusion of these like hateful anti-Semitic things. It has nothing to do with rights. So just these are the three things.
Also, it has nothing to do with hopelessness.
Right.
I heard that used recently.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was the New York Times did an article on this 13-year-old who shot two people. One of them is, by the way, in very complicated situation now in the hospital.
This guy, this officer.
Nadav is his name.
Right, Nadav. He was an officer, and he was shooting. There's a picture of him, like with his bleeding stomach,
right,
but
and
still
he
holding
got
onto
much
his
worse.
pistol.
Right, he got much worse since then, and we're all praying for him. I said to him for him today.
Right.
Psalms. Anyway, so apparently, I didn't read the article, but apparently I think it was the New York Times did an article on this kid, and the headline is like he had once wanted to be like a chef And that article was about like this poor child who like went on to be a. Isn't it sad that he was forced to go be a, attacker against Jews because of the hopelessness? And I'm like, hopelessness? That's not what it is. It's hopefulness.
Right.
They shoot us out of hopefulness.
Did you tweet that?
No, I did not.
You should tweet that exact sentence right there. That's exactly right, Malka. That you should tweet it. By the way, it's these little sentences that make people understand. Right there. Just tweet that and explain to people that it's coming out from a hopeful side, not a hopeless side. That's absolutely right. Listen, Malka, we have a lot of I have a lot of clips today. I have a lot of extra clips from different parts.
Like what? What kind of stuff?
Well, I have my recent appearance on I-24 where I came out to defend the policies of Minister Ben-Gvir.
Are you playing the whole thing?
Yeah, I'm going to play the thing.
It is real good.
Yeah, it's spicy,
I watched it. I watched the video that went out on I-24. It's excellent.
All right, so let's put that on right now. Let's go to, let's ask Ben Bresky to stick in the I-24 clip right here. And you'll see how the other side is explaining their hopelessness and their fight for rights and all that business, and kind of denies, and it's of course the fault of the occupation.
Well, let's hear what they say.
That's right. Let's hear what they say. Here's I-24, and Samer and from the Fatah organization and myself are on it together.
Now, far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir is appearing to be under pressure since taking office last month. That's amidst a string of high-profile violent crime. I want to introduce here Yishai Fleisher. He's a longtime spokesperson for the Hebron Jewish community out there in Hebron, but also now an advisor to the National Security, Minister of National Security, that is Itamar Ben-Gvir. So thanks for being with us, Yishai. Look, is this, I don't know if you heard or much, I know you just joined us, how much you caught of Samer's comments, the concerns around this pending demolition in East Jerusalem. Is this the time for raising decrepit apartment buildings in Flashpoint, East Jerusalem that, as far as I know, are currently not drawing any national attention? Where's the sensitivity around that? Is there, any sensitivity from this ministry towards the wider conflict?
First thing, it's nice to see my friend Samer, and it's good to hear him. With regarding to this particular case, I'm a little bit surprised at Samer because the guy that whose house is about to be demolished, this is the second time that he's built illegally. He built also in Silwan illegally. And back then he stole from fellow Arabs. And also now we're talking about area that was zoned for public usage for the Arab world over there, for the schools, for the parks. So this guy, a criminal dude, went and stole land from his fellow Arabs that's supposed to be zoned for public usage, for like a park or a kindergarten. He stole this land. He's already been proven a criminal beforehand. Now his house is going to be destroyed for the good of the Arabs of Eastern Jerusalem. And yet Samer sadly presents it as an Israel versus Palestinian conflict, when in fact it is an intra-Arab problem. And we get turned to all the time by fellow Arabs saying, hey, my neighbor is acting criminally. Can you help me? Now, what you asked whether this is the right time or not, it's a police action that is sanctioned by the court. It's the court that decided to do these things. The very same court that we're always discussing on other issues, the court said, not Minister Ben-Gvir, the court said, yes, it's time to demolish this house. The police want to do it because the police's job is to fight illegal actions. Its job is to create a law-abiding society. And so, yes, illegal housing, stealing from other Arabs is illegal and will be taken down. Now, this government, the only difference is that this government wants to make sure that that we don't bypass these decisions of the court. We don't kind of tell the police will say, maybe it's not the right time, that kind of language I used before. No, It's the right time right now to fight illegal actions on the ground and to create law and order for Jews and Arabs in that area.
Samer Sinjalawi, Fatah activist from Jerusalem, the chairman of the Jerusalem Development Fund. Samer, I want to come right back to you here and stay with Minister Ben-Gvir here. I mean, recently, shut down things like pita bakeries in Israel's security prisons, housing Palestinians now, making a major push now for the death penalty for convicted terrorists. Your thoughts on this too, Samer?
Well, Ben-Gvir is famous in lighting fires. This is how he has been elected, in showing himself that he is very anti-Palestinian, in showing himself that he is extreme right-wing activist. I think he is now planning for the coming election in 2027. He wants the premiership. He believes he can achieve this. He has been able to swallow merits while he has been in the opposition. And now, in 4 years in power, in government, He's trying to swallow the Likud. Unfortunately, whatever he does, he's touching nerves, and he knows that these nerves are going to have escalations, and he doesn't matter. He doesn't care about risking hundreds of civilians from the Palestinian side, the lives of civilians from Palestinian and Israeli sides, because he knows the consequences with what he's doing. I really wonder how low will the Israeli politics go down the stream in seeing people who have been supporting terror and even convicted in terrorism in the past in leading ministerial position. Yesterday, there was an activist, Zvi Sokot, who has entered to the Knesset according to the Norwegian law. This guy has been arrested in 2010 for terror against Palestinians. He was deported by the Israeli security in 2012 from the West Bank because of acts of terror against Palestinians. And he has organized a demonstration in 2015 in Tel Aviv in support to Jewish terrorists who have burned alive the family of the Wabshe in the village of Duma. So this is
I want to give Yishai a chance to respond here. I'm going to hold on to both of you through the break here. I want to hold on to both of you through the break. We're coming up about a minute left here. Yishai, your reaction to some of this here.
Well, I think that Mr. Ben-Gvir is a man who is scary and destabilizing to the jihad. If you're a jihadist and you want to destroy Israel and you call for the erasure of Israel, if you sell maps with a picture of the borders of the land of Israel, but it has the word Palestine on it, if you plan on terrorism, or if you've been caught doing terrorism or murdering Jews, but now you're sitting in jail getting a degree and also baking your pitas, and suddenly comes a minister who's elected by the people and says, hey, we are not going to allow criminals like murderers to be baking their own pita and living the high life in Israeli prisons. We will not let criminality go forward, and we will not be a party to allowing Bedouins to extract money from businesses and protection rackets, or women to feel unsafe walking in the streets of Beersheba or Yaffo or Akko. No, there's a new sheriff in town. That sheriff wants what the people want, which is law and order, and the jihad is on the run. Look, I think in this interview, I think what's important is to focus on public security. The game of politics, the Israeli game of politics, has its own mechanisms and its own power plays and that whole thing. I think what people voted Itamar Ben-Gvir to do is to give them basic security back on our roads.
But it's those security policies. I mean, that's what he's talking about. He wants to see those things move forward. Death penalty for terrorists.
That's right. Because
national security force.
And I can tell you from being close to the minister, I've seen this over and over again. He's not joking around. In his mind, he has to fulfill the will of the people, and that is to bring back basic security. Sometimes when we watch, I-24 out in America or wherever we're watching it, we think that Israel's just a strong country around here and it's got it all under control. But that's a fallacy. We have no-go zones in Jerusalem. We've got rockets trained at us from Hamas and from Hezbollah. We've got training of young people, of Arab young minds, to hate Israel, to call to destroy Israel. And so that's the reality that we live with. That's what we face in our capital city, Jerusalem, and certainly in Judea and Samaria, and everywhere in the mixed Arab cities like Lod, Ramle, Beersheba, Yaffo, Akko, all these places. And so we want law and order back. That's why we voted this kind of government in. And it's really an overwhelming, for Israeli politics, it was an overwhelming victory. And now it's time to fulfill those promises to the people. And you saw videos in the last week of people complaining bitterly after the rape and theft of an Israeli citizen. And it's just like, Itamar, they say, Ben-Gvir, give us our security back, fund the police, strengthen it, give them the right to push back against those enemies that are making life impossible. And it's very important for me to say this over and over again. The Arab community is turning also to Minister Ben-Gvir and saying to him, help us get rid of illegal weapons, help us get rid of the suppression of the corruption that we have in our towns here. And that's why mayors have been publicly standing up and saying, Arab mayors have been publicly standing up and saying, we want Ben-Gvir to succeed.
Sabra, I want to throw a different sort of angle at you here, and feel free to respond. But look, thousands of Palestinians enter Israel each day, whether from the West Bank or Gaza, to work. The Israeli government effort's still there from the top down to sort of ease the economic desperation or hardship from snowballing in the Palestinian communities, despite existing threats. We just highlighted that in our Ariel story earlier. Is this aspect of the relationship, how critical is it right now to preventing wider unrest, Samra?
Allow me, David, just to have a quick comment on the prisoners' conditions. I couldn't speak after Rabbi Fleisher mentioned points. Well, I would like to ask, what are the conditions that are the Israeli terrorists who have burned Muhammad Abu Khdeir in Shafat in life and killed him, who burned the Dawakshi family in Duma? What are the conditions they are living in? Are they getting similar treatment to the Palestinian prisoners, or they are getting a lot of other privileges, and Itamar Ben-Gvir just really doesn't care about how they live and what privileges they are getting inside the Israeli jail? What is Igal Amir kind of privileges he's getting inside the prison? I will not be surprised. He's going to be released soon, that he's going to be on the list of Itamar Ben-Gvir or Smotrich to the coming Knesset, and maybe the assassinate of Rabin will be a minister again. This is how low the Israeli political system is going down, and nobody is noticing how racist, how discriminative against Palestinians and against Arabs in general. And we need to stop this. My question to Rabbi Fleisher: is there occupation in the West Bank or no? And if there is no occupation, are Palestinians getting equal rights to Jews or no? And if both your answers are no, is this apartheid or not? We need to face the reality. Is some arrangements of allowing Palestinians to work in Israel certainly will have a positive impact. Certainly, this income is needed for lots of families in Gaza. But this is not the solution for the security threats against Israelis. Israelis need to know that General X in the Palestinian society and General Z, those youngsters who have been born in the mid-90s, the 90s and the early of this century, they have lost hope of any good future. They have nothing to lose. And that's why there are a lot of lonely wolves. Yeah. People who woke up in the morning at the age of 14 or 19, take up a gun and shoot Jews because they lost any kind of hope. We need to tackle the problem from its roots and try to find a solution for this. We cannot keep ignoring the main problem. The elephant in the room is the occupation. It's the injustice against Palestinians. Yes, there are hatred, but hatred is equally among our generation, both sides. Do you think that Israeli youngsters love Palestinians? We can see the march each year in Jerusalem in May, where these youngsters are chanting death to Arabs. Hatred is there, and we need to fight it, and we can fight it only if we can bring justice, equal rights to Palestinians, either at the level of self-determination or equal rights within Israel.
In the interest of time, Yishai, I'll give you a chance to respond here. Just about 2 minutes, a little under, please.
No problem. I appreciate the opportunity. Look, I think that Samer is kind of, weaving a false narrative because he's saying that we got to get to the root of the problem. He's right about that. But it's not about occupation. It's about jihad. And if you read the wills of the terrorists, they all say the same thing. Allah is great. We're going to destroy Israel. Palestine is ours forever. We're part of the great jihad. So they don't say we want equal rights or anything like that. And that's the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is that, and by the way, I have Palestinian and Fatah TV at home. I watch it. I only need to watch about 3 minutes to know that this is 24/7 of brainwashing, of hate. They don't talk about rights. They don't talk about equalities, all these things that Samer says for the Western, ear to hear. No, they talk about jihad, destroying Israel and revolution, and then Tel Aviv will burn and that kind of stuff. They're not looking for equal rights. By the way, there is not one Palestinian map that shows two states living equally side by side. They want to take over all of Israel. All you have to do is go to the store, any Arab store, they sell these little, Palestine keychains. It's all of the state of Israel. So you have to be an idiot not to understand that they want the whole thing. And so the jihadist elements, not all Palestinians, because there are many Palestinians who are not like what Samer is saying, who want actually to live under Israel with upward mobility, with opportunity, and they hate the Fatah that Samer represents. They hate this dictator that they have ruling now, Mahmoud Abbas, who's nothing but a corrupt thug and has the secret police and steals all their money and brainwashes their kids. So that's what they want. They want off. They tell me all the time, just give us blue identity cards, i.e. Israeli residency. Get these thugs off of our neck. And I'm sorry, my friend Samer makes a living off of the Fatah, but the Fatah steals money from the Palestinian people and then has the audacity to come on I-24 and tell everybody that they're fighting for equality and human rights. They are not. They are not the people of human rights. They're the people example of torture and corruption. And so the Palestinians want a real life, and that life is going to be under Israel when it liberates them from the Palestinian Authority and from these type of people, and gives them an opportunity for a real life in the most liberal and best country in the Middle East, which is Israel.
Yishai, thank you. It's tough to stop this conversation any way or shape or form. But Samer, 1 minute if you'd like to reply here.
Well, I don't make living out of Fatah. I am opposition in Fatah. I'm opposing Arafat, Abbas. I want democracy. I want a more transparent and representative system in the Palestinian side. But the occupation can continue. It's not only unacceptable, it's
Samer
also
and Yishai,
not
both of you.
sustainable.
This is obviously a discussion we can carry on for days and days. I appreciate you both, especially with the undertone. I think you're both bringing of coexistence here, of finding a way to live together here and doing what's best for everyone around here. So I appreciate you both joining. Yishai Fleisher, Samer Sinjalawi. Fascinating discussion, and truly, we're sure these issues will keep coming. We'll bring you back. Thanks for joining today.
All right, that was I-24.
That was great.
Oh, great! I'm glad you like that, Malka. That's great.
I like how you said something like, "Yeah, Ben Gvir is disruptive to the jihad."
That's right.
That was good.
Yeah, and it's true. All right, let's go to another clip, Malka, now. And here's our own beloved Ben Bresky with a little bit of a history moment about Tu B'Shvat.
Awesome.
And about this Jewish Back to Nature Day, this Jewish day of celebrating the land and the trees, which the Kabbalists made famous in the 1500s, and then even the secular Zionists got into it in the early 20th century. We'll hear more about that from our History Corner with Ben Bresky. Ben, take it away.
This is a moment in Jewish history. My name is Ben Bresky. This week, the holiday of Tu B'Shvat was celebrated throughout the Jewish world. The name means the 15th of the month of Shvat and comes as winter begins abating and spring approaches soon. The blossoms on the almond trees and other early blooming trees begin to show. It marks a time when Jewish farmers in the land of Israel in ancient times marked when the fruit trees were to be tithed. Tu B'Shvat is described in the Talmud as the New Year of the trees. The Talmud Bavli states, "Our masters taught that a tree whose fruit has ripened in the past year is tithed for the past year. After Tu B'Shvat, it is tithed for the coming year." This date was selected because by this time most of the winter rains are over and fruit has begun to ripen. It is marked by eating from the 7 species of the land of Israel, mentioned in the Torah: wheat, barley, grapes, figs, pomegranates, olives, and dates. In modern times, Tu B'Shvat has taken on an environmental meaning. On Tu B'Shvat, many recite one of the stories of Honi the Circle Maker, who is mentioned in the Talmud. According to the famous story, Honi saw an elderly man planting a carob tree. He asked him, "After how many years will this tree bear fruit?" And the man said, 70 years, to which Honi asked, "Will you live another 70 years to be able to taste the fruit of this tree?" To which the man replied, "Just as my ancestors planted trees for me, I too am planting for my descendants." The early Kabbalists in Sfat in the 16th century held a Tu B'Shvat Seder similar to a Passover Seder, in which they ate of the symbolic 7 species. Today, there are Tu B'Shvat Seders held throughout the Jewish world. At the Seder, there are 4 glasses of wine or grape juice, 2 red and 2 white. There are also several types of fruit or nuts in which to contemplate spirituality and self-growth. Those with hard, inedible shells or peels and a soft, edible interior. Those with soft exteriors but a hard pit inside. And those that can be eaten in its entirety. What part of our personal lives do we see inside a shell, or soft on the outside but hiding a pit, or totally consumable? By the turn of the century, the Jewish National Fund celebrated Tu B'Shvat with their famous blue boxes in which people all over the world put in coins to donate for planting trees in Israel, which was deforested after generations of neglect and underdevelopment. In the 1890s, Zev Yavetz headed the Zikron Yaakov School and on Tu B'Shvat took his students to plant trees. The idea spread all over the country and by 1908 was formalized by the Jewish National Fund and the Teachers Union. Thus, Tu B'Shvat became a symbol of the early pioneers, of the growth of the land of Israel, and making the barren, underdeveloped land bloom once again, as it did in days of old. The JNF reported that Israel is the only country in the world to have entered the 21st century with more trees than it had 100 years ago. On Tu B'Shvat in 1949, the Israeli Knesset convened its first official session. After Israel's independence from the British in 1948 and then the subsequent invasion by surrounding countries and the war, which was not entirely over by that time, and the first ever Knesset elections, which were held about a month before, the democratically elected members of the Israeli Knesset assembled in Jerusalem for the first time.
Israel's first parliament for more than 2,000 years opens in Jerusalem. 2 Arabs are among the 120 elected members in the assembly, under the leadership of Premier Ben-Gurion. Dr. Weizmann, the British-educated first president of Israel, in his opening speech, calls for a state based on justice, righteousness, peace, and love. Memorial services for the men who died in battle are held throughout the Holy City. Then, gala celebrations take over. There are still many problems ahead for Israel. Peace talks have yet to be completed, and the status of Jerusalem has to be finalized. But this is a day of rejoicing.
Today, members of Knesset still mark the birthday of the trees and the birthday of the Knesset by participating in tree planting ceremonies. Groups dedicated to environmentalism and the protection of nature also hold cleanup days and planting events on Tu B'Shvat. This year followed the Shemitah year, the sabbatical in which no planting or tilling was to take place. Many songs and poems over the generations have been written about Tu B'Shvat. Wishing you a happy Tu B'Shvat, this has been a moment of Jewish history. My name is Ben Bresky, and for more information, you can reach me at bbresky@gmail.com. That's bbresky@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and shalom.
All right, thank you very much, Ben, for that fabulous segment. And a lot of people really like that part of the show. So, speaking of Ben, I want to thank Ben, Tabitha, Moshe Herman, Yocheved, and Lou when we're live for getting our show out to the world.
I also want to congratulate you, Yishai, because you're on a new platform. JNS, Jewish News Syndicate, has picked up your show, and they're doing a beautiful job also of putting it up. So thank you to JNS.
That's right.
And that's an excellent place to be getting your news, all kinds of excellent opinion articles, news. They have some good emails. It's a really growing organization, so it's one to watch. You can also find them on Twitter, Facebook.
Very good. JNS, I'm very proud. I'm very proud, Malka, that I'm on now JNS. And so, so there's JNS, and there's really my two go-to websites, jns.org and for news, and also jewishpress.com. It's a classic.
Yes.
And they put out...
and you love their email.
Love their email. That's right, which is called the Jewish Express. I named it many years ago. So jewishpress.com, they are proud sponsors of the Yishai Fleisher Show. And we also have the folks at Israel365.com. They are a sponsor for the show, and usually we promote the Israel Bible.
Israel Bible. Bam, 10% off the Word of God.
That's right, bam. That's right. But today we are going to talk about something else, which is actually a orphanage.
Wow.
From Ukraine, Ukrainian Jews, Chabad. So I'm always proud to be associated with Chabad.
Sure.
That's like a big theme in my life. A lot of people don't know that, but that's like a theme.
Chabad keeps coming in.
It's not coming in. It's just a big chunk of my life. I daven in Chabad, and just a lot of my life has that streak in it. And so I'm proud also now that it's coming around, that we're helping Chabad, who's helping these orphans, from 100 orphans, starting a new life in Israel after escaping Ukraine. They need essential clothing, appliances, basic essentials, and more. And they're raising money for them, and they're just making them. They're making their life. happen here in the land of Israel with Judaism, and you could support them. And that's just an easy way. If you think about those if you think about those Turkish and Syrian folks, well, we got our own refugees from a conflict and from a war-torn place called Ukraine. So go to Israel365.com, campaign, and it's called Support Orphans. You'll see it right there, Support Orphans. So Israel365.com, campaign /Support Orphans. So check that out as well. Malka, and of course, we have our regular sponsors to the show, which include Retro Watch Guy and RetroWatchGuy.com. Just today, I was in the Knesset, and when I go to the Knesset, I try to support my Tissot right there from the, I remember, late 60s, early 70s. Just awesome. And there's great watches at IsraelWatchGuy.com, and they're cool, and they have a great, amazing social media.
They're always putting up new, beautiful watches also.
Yeah, they're old, but new.
New in their their care.
That's right. And so check that out. That's a lot of fun, and you can't go wrong with getting yourself a new cool watch or getting it something for someone you love, or for Shabbat, or for a Chatan, Mazal Tov. So that's really fun. And then we also have our good friends at Prohibition Pickle, Malka, who are making delicious yum-yums and kosher yum-yums, but they are spiritual yum-yums in that Shabbat is made better with the Prohibition Pickle. And I have a lot of friends who order Prohibition Pickle. They're like, oh, Yishai, you know about Prohibition Pickle? I got to order some for Shabbat. I got to get this or that. And I think we're having all kinds of guests this Shabbat, Malka. And so let's make sure
good call.
That we...
load up
and get some.
Plus, these days, everyone's talking about the probiotics, like the gut health.
Yes.
And I know that Chaim makes his own pickles, and they have like the lactobacteria, I think. Whatever it is, like the good stuff, like the stuff that you want to eat in the fermented foods. Everyone's all about the fermented.
He's got the bacteria with a kedusha in there. That is what's special about that. And speaking of holiness, there's no more holy thing to do than to go to the Temple Mount. And the way to go to the Temple Mount is to get info and to know what you're doing, because it's an initiation, and then you become an evangelist of it.
Right.
Believe me.
I just want to say, though, it's not a tourist site. Meaning to say, it is the organization that you want to promote, High on the Har. They don't just treat it like a nice place to go.
Right.
They will teach you the very serious and very real regulations, laws, and customs associated with going up on the Temple Mount, and help you to go up b'kedusha, in holiness.
That's right.
The way that we ought to go.
That's right. With history and with meaning and with a vision for the future, for that third temple. So that's highonthehar.com. And my good friend MJ and Rabbi Levi, they're in charge of that great organization. They're getting you up there. And then after you visit the holiest place on earth, visit the followers, the people who walked in the path of God, the future of our history. Go check out Hebron, where I get to work every single day, most days anyway, and I have the great honor and privilege to visit the tomb of the patriarchs and matriarchs and pray there, like the Pakistani woman who got excited about the fact that I get a chance to pray there every day and asked me to pray for her sons to get married to nice Muslim boys, Muslim girls that they would find. And I'm happy to do that. The point is that the Hebron Fund, hebronfund.org, is your way to strengthen the pillars of our peoplehood in Hebron. Hebronfund.org, and our great tours with Rabbi Simcha Hachman, hebronfund.org. Rabbi Dan Rosenstein running the Hebron Fund, and of course the Jewish community of Hebron, including the Director General Uri Karzan and Noam Arnon, who I get to work with. Great folks, amazing folks. So Malka, did we forget anybody else? Anybody else on the sponsor sheet over there?
I think we got them.
I think we got them all. God bless them all. God bless you. Now, Malka, we still have more clips, and I do want to play something from Mark Golub. So I'm going to ask Mark Golub from JBS Shalom TV, who I said the show is dedicated to. He passed away just very recently, and it's with just a few days after his passing. He was a very special man, and you'll hear a little bit right now about what kind of dude he was, and really left a legacy and a memory in a lot of people's minds and hearts. And that's a person who died, having done a lot of good in this world. So, right. Ben Bresky, if I can ask you to stick in a little bit of Mark Golub right here, that'll be great, and enjoy, and we'll be right back after that.
It's interesting. We've talked many times, and people should understand I have a social relationship with Yishai as well. It's not always true with the guests who sit at this table. And he has been wonderful to me and my family. And I brought my chavurah to Israel, and we were in Yishai's house, and he took us all around the Mount of Olives. It was a fabulous, fabulous time. We've talked many times. This is the first time in our conversation you've used the word jihadist and ISIS. It means in some way the discussion is framed differently. To what extent do you feel that what Israel is facing is not simply an issue of Arab or Palestinian, but it's really a jihadist movement, which is part of the entire ISIS phenomenon and the extreme Muslim ideology, which is creating terror throughout the world? To what extent should American Jews see what Israel is facing in its conflict with the Palestinians as part of that larger issue?
So I use the word jihad on purpose because I don't want to use the word Arab, okay, or even Muslim. Because the truth is that we, even in Hebron, which is considered, one of the more extreme of the settlements, or what we call, kind of courageous Jews living in an ancestral Jewish homeland, we have many Arab friends who do not agree with the jihadist mentality, who are looking to get rid of even the Palestinian Authority, see Israeli sovereignty come back over that area. We have Arabs and Muslims who think differently. But the jihad is very strong right now. The jihad is a kind of an ideological virus. It's an idea. It's not a race. It's not an ethnicity. It's an idea. But it infects, or the people that are susceptible to it are Muslim Arabs. Through classic Islamic values sneaks in this idea of jihad. And so there is jihadism in Hebron. There is jihadism in East Jerusalem. Places like East Sawiya are just simply full of jihad. It's called Hamas. It's labeled a liberation movement, but in fact it is a supremacist movement. And it doesn't.
What's their goal?
Their goal is to get rid of folks who are not like them. Jews being just one of them. If they're Kurds, if they're Yazidis, if they're a Muslim who says, I don't think this Israel is so bad after all. That's who's going to get it. So they're supremacist against anybody who doesn't think like them. Jews being just one of the groups. In the Middle East, there's two kinds of minorities. Armed minorities and unarmed minorities. So if you're a Copt or a Yazidi, you're just on the run. And they'll either push you out or take your head off or you'll just leave. You'll get on a plane and go. Or there's armed minorities like the Kurds and the Jews who refuse to be bullied and want to stay there.
I come back to the fact that you actually lived in Gaza.
Sure.
You were there during the disengagement.
Yes.
A strange word, by the way.
Right.
You were there when basically Ariel Sharon said, we are going to leave Gaza. Every Israeli is going to leave Gaza. Not only every Israeli soldier, but every Israeli settler. You will leave your settlements and come in on the other side of what's known as the Green Line, into Israel proper.
Right.
So I ask you, what was that experience like for you? And I'm assuming you believe Israel made a mistake, but I want to know how angry it made you and whether you believed the people, the Jews of Gaza, should have resisted with violence against an Israeli decision to remove Israelis from Gaza.
Well, first, Mark, I think everybody agrees that it was a mistake. On the left and on the right in Israel, everybody knows that something happened wrong because people like myself, who are not prophets, maybe sons of prophets, but not prophets, predicted that within a year's time, Gaza would fall to terror hands and become a terror state. I was wrong. It took 6 months. And it became really a terrorist state, one that steals away our Jewish soldiers and makes them captives, one that fires a tremendous amount of rockets into Israel proper, quote unquote, and now is arming itself for the next war. It's an Iran proxy. We have Iran proxies all over us. The tightening noose of Iran is all around Israel from three sides, from Gaza, from Hezbollah in the north, and from Iran proper. So everybody agrees that it was a mistake. I was exercising my democratic rights to let the country know that we think that the government is making a big mistake. We believe that Ariel Sharon and as Bibi Netanyahu were elected on a nationalistic platform, which is a better word, by the way, than right-wing. Nationalism. We believe that they were elected on a nationalistic platform because that's what they promised before they got elected. Of course, they do the famous Israeli turnabout, which is, you elect a nationalist and you get a cow tower. And that's the situation we have today. With regards to violent protest, I have to kind of stop here and tell you, we are victims. We are victims, people who believe that Israel should be strong. We are victims because we are constantly being portrayed as violent and therefore also anti-democratic, anti the state. Nothing could be further than the truth. Nothing. And it's ironic. We love our country. We are patriots of the country. We pay our taxes. We are its soldiers. We look at the flag with tears in our eyes. It is our beloved country. And that's why we are activists for it to go in the right direction. That's called democracy. And so therefore, violence was never the issue. The issue was an effective protest to help stop the government from taking suicidal steps. We were unsuccessful. We were far from violent, although we were painted as being violent. The salt of the earth farmers of Gaza fell like a house of cards because we don't know how to fight. When we fight our enemies, we are like lions. But when it's time to fight our brothers, we don't know what to do with ourselves. We're not built for it. If I don't assert my rights to my land, they will assert their rights to my land.
And your land includes the West Bank, Judea, Samaria.
That is our historical homeland. What do you mean includes? It doesn't include, it originates.
I understand.
In Bethlehem,
you
Jerusalem.
You believe Ben Gurion was wrong and Weizmann was wrong to accept the partition?
No, I think if you read the diaries and the discussions of that time, they understood that this was a decision that had to be made. There was a moment in time, and they did what they could because...
Why wouldn't you say the same thing now about this moment in time?
Because that moment after they signed that idea, or signed off on the idea of a partition of Israel, the war began. And we immediately reconquered places that were not part of that partition plan. Meaning say the partition plan was a failure.
Every time we conquered land, Israel offered it back.
Right, and we should stop doing that. It's a little bit silly.
Why?
Because it's our land, because there's been war. You have said it yourself, because there's been war after war to take that land again.
And by the way, you and I know there's been one war. American Jews make a mistake when they say there have been 4 wars. Okay. There's been one war. It started the moment Ben Gurion declared the state of Israel to be a state of Israel.
Right.
And all we've had is ceasefires in the meantime.
There's no question about it that our peoplehood's future is in Israel. Just open any Jewish newspaper. What do they have on the cover? Some local kashrut issue, an Erev issue. What do they have? What's the main issues on the agenda of the Jewish people? It's Israel. That's what's going on in Israel. That's the discussion that we're having. So we have to put Israel first. We have to build it no matter what station we are in life. Not to feel guilt, not to feel distant. And that's really what I wanted to impart to you. We have to have a fearless attitude, and we have to be stiff-necked people. We have to be so darn stubborn right now. So many people want to push us off the Israel story. They want to make it look too complex, too dirty, too impossible, too apartheid, too this, that. All these dirty words, because Jews don't like to be called dirty words. You know, they get all upset about it. And that's it. I don't want to deal with Israel. We got to make Israel sexy, attractive, the future. We got to put our efforts into it. We got to send our kids there. We got to turn them onto the story. We got to give them our narrative. We got to give them our vision. That why did we exodus Egypt 3,500 years ago? So we could come to the Jewish state, to the state of Israel. So this moment is coming, and I'm sweating, and I see that a lot of people are responding to the idea that we have to get together, no matter what, and build that Jewish state that we've been waiting for.
It is simply a joy talking to you, and Yishai, no one at the moment is saying some of the things you're saying, and I believe it's very important for American Jewry to hear your message, for you to raise the issues. I am honored to be involved with you. I wish you kol tuv v'hatzlacha in all of your endeavors at jewishpress.com. You are being very creative in the work you do, bringing more information to Israel. It's wonderful that you bring Ion Zion here to Shalom TV. And whenever there's a way for us to work together, I feel you do a service to the Jewish people and to the Shalom TV community. I wish you kol tuv v'hatzlacha. You're very, very special. Always, always.
And congratulations on the new linear channel. I'm excited. We're going to get it broadcast in Israel soon.
I hope you get it done. We would love to be in Israel. By the way, you told me that you had a very interesting meeting with some Jews in Nashville, Tallahassee.
Yes.
What was it?
In Tallahassee, Florida. I was videoing the student conference. Sometimes I'm in front of the stage, sometimes I'm behind the camera. And the kids asked me, the young people asked me, where is this going to be broadcast? I said, Shalom TV. They said, Shalom TV, we have it on cable. and you know, I just think I I think this is not a channel. I think this is a tool for education. I think that you've taken the lead in using television which is the tool of education of our time. It's not the classroom. It's television. And to bring Jewish values and Jewish culture back into the mindset, into the foreground of people's minds is incredibly important. You've put a lot at stake into it, and nobody's behind you except for your tenacious and stiff-necked will to get it done. And I think that you should be applauded, and I hope that Shalom TV educates thousands and millions of Jews and Gentiles about the beauty and love of the Jewish world and of Israel. I want to thank you, Mark.
That's very sweet of you. I appreciate it very, very much, Yishai.
Okay, Malka, that was Mark Golub, and we salute you in the sky. God bless you, sir. Thank you for being part of my life, and you did good. You did good, Mark, and Rabbi Mark, and I always thought of you as a real Jew. So kol hakavod for your good life. Okay, Malka, let's finish up with just a little bit more, a little bit of Torah, if you don't mind. You know, Malka.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Last week's Torah portion, we finished off with something that I very much believe in, which is seeing Amalek. Seeing Amalek. And I said something to you this morning that I've been thinking about what I said. You know, something flies out of your mouth.
Right, and then you hear yourself say it.
You're like, I don't love it. I don't always like when people talk about Mashiach, because I find that it is sometimes feeds into a kind of human need for cataclysm, or, great, something is going to fix everything for you, a kind of utopian. It's sides of the same
ties
cone.
Up the loose ends very neatly and conveniently without you having to do the hard stuff.
Well said. So it's either like you're like, it's cataclysm, the world's coming to an end, or this guy's going to come and fix everything, Mashiach. So I've got all kinds of like little funky, weird emotional issues about that. And I prefer when people talk about, redemption, and they talk about revelation. And I don't always like the Mashiach language. Of course, I am commanded to believe in Mashiach, and I do believe that there's going to be, but that's not like my thing, because I tell people my standard answer is I'd rather be a warrior for Mashiach and not wait for him to be a warrior for me. I'd rather be working for him than him working for me. Okay, fine. So therefore, like, I have my issues with Mashiach language, but I feel very strongly that there is very much an Amalek out there, and to me, it's like I'm like, ooh, there's Amalek force, and to me, that element is very, very real. Like, I'm like, I see you, I see what you're about, and I think Amalek is very strong right now, very strong. It's coming out against us strong. Not as strong as like World War II, but it's coming out strong against Israel. And the whole Palestine thing, which is nothing but a replacement theology, trying to replace Israel. And I say this to all the media these days. I go, you walk around, they will sell you a map of Palestine. It's got our borders, Malka, our borders. And then it says Palestine. What am I supposed to understand from that? And they go, I say to them, like, what I'm supposed to understand is they want to destroy Israel and they want to make a Palestine. They're like, but you have your a picture of that map with the word Israel on it with no Palestine. I'm like, exactly right. I don't deny that for a second. This is our land. Right. This is our land. There's never been a Palestine on this land. They're trying to come in and take away our heartland, and we won't let them. This is our land. That's exactly right. And then I remind them how small we are in the big picture of the Middle East and the Arab countries, that we're one out of 22 Arab countries, etc. We're one country within 22 Arab countries. But the point is that whole narrative is an awesome ploy of Amalek these days. Now, why do I mention this? Because last week's Torah portion, there's this thing where Moses is holding his hands up, and when his hands are in the air, up, then Israel wins. Beats down Amalek. Joshua is able to overcome Amalek. But when his hands get tired and they fall, then Amalek overcomes us. So that's supposed to be like a big question mark. And not only am I asking this, The Mishnah asks this, and they're like, could it be that Moses' hands are defeating, when they're up towards the sky, they're defeating Amalek? And so the answer is no. It's when the Jews look at Moses and they see that he's pointing up to the heavens, they're like, okay, we have a Father up in heaven. He fights for us and we overcome Amalek. Fine, that's a fine answer. A prosaic answer, a poetic answer. Well, which one is it? No, I guess a poetic answer. But here's another thought for you. There's a way that we win. There's a way that we win. And when we win, the best case scenario is when we're correctly aligned, when we know how to win Amalek. That comes from Jewish unity. And Jewish unity comes from when we're aligned properly. Now listen to this. Moses is holding up his hands. Who's holding up his two hands? Because they were too heavy. Who's holding up his hands? Aaron and Hur. Who is Aaron? He is the chief priest, the high priest. And who is Hur? He's actually the son of Caleb. He's actually the continuation of the Judah, the kingdom of Judah, the one that King David comes from. So he's Malchut, he's monarchy. So you have the priesthood, you have the monarchy, in the middle the lawgiver. Okay? That's, by the way, what it's like on the Temple Mount. On the Temple Mount has those three elements. Those three elements exist on the Temple Mount. You have the priesthood.
Right.
You have the court system. The head court sits on the Temple Mount.
Right.
And you have the king has his place as well, just on the Temple Mount. That's exactly what there's a moment where all three of those things coexist. That's what happened up there. That's like the Temple Mount. It's exactly right. It's the revelation of Hashem. It's Moses the lawgiver. You got the monarchy. You got the priesthood, and then you got the fighting Jews. That's Joshua. With the shofar and with the sword. He's out there on the field fighting the Amalekites. The system's in place. The godly channel's out there. It's working. And down there is Joshua, and he's looking up, and he's getting the energy from the proper alignment of how the Jewish people are supposed to be aligned from the holiest place. And that's really what wins. And I want you to know, Malka, that in this week's Torah portion, Yitro,
yeah,
it says that he heard about what's going on with Israel. And one of the things that he heard about the war with Amalek. He heard not only about the positivity of the splitting of the Red Sea, he also heard about
Amalek attacking.
And he's like, that's also a proof that God is behind this thing. Because if the darkest force in the world is out to get you, that means that you're doing something right. You're engaged in holiness. And that's what's happening today. Like, if you want to take another clue into what's going on in the world today, one, I said before, is the Jewish people's survival. And two is the flourishing of the land of Israel. And three is the hate.
Right, the super outrage.
The hate, Malka, is a proof that this is a great thing that's happening right now. The hate of the world, of the what we call the goyim, and also the Jews that have gone sour,
the Hellenists,
the globalists, whatever you want to call them, the folks who have lost their path, who have become apostates or whatever they've become, to secular coercion and globalism and progressivism, whatever it's all called, like that unbelievable obsession and hate that the forces have against us. That too, like Jethro, like Yitro saw, is a proof for God's existence and for the importance of Israel today. And as my friends saying, do you stand with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or do you stand with those who rage against Israel? Which one is it? And speaking of that, Malka, I will have one more audio to play for you today, and that's my interview with Steve and Samuel Werp from Blessed by Israel.
Nice.
They are from the nations. They are from the nations. And they are the type who see clearly that Israel's it, and that this is a moment to be engaged. And I had the great pleasure to sit down with them and talk with them a little bit about why they've dedicated their lives to the cause of Israel.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, folks, Yishai Fleisher here, and I'm in my office in Hebron, right across from the Avram Avinu Synagogue.
and it is cold out there. It is cold. It is precipitations. It's got precipitations coming down all the time. We got some kind of combo of sleet, snow, rain, and it is gorgeous. And I got all these people coming to my office, these reporters, and they're telling me like bad weather out there. I say, bad weather? We think it's a blessing. It is indeed a blessing, and indeed I trekked down here to Hebron today from Gush Etzion, and it's just cold and awesome. And you know who else is happy? The good grapevines and the olive trees. Everybody loves it. They're thanking God for the good cold because they like the cold and they like the frost, and the grapes taste sweeter if there's some cold in the air. And so therefore it's just good. So it's a big blessing. And as I said last week, and my good friend Ari Abramowitz backed me up, I said this last week, which is, we had basically a drought winter that felt like summer. And then there was this awful murder of 7 Jews, and immediately came the rains. Were these people like some kind of expiation? Their death was some kind of, or was it God that wanted to give us some kind of consolation after such a horrific thing? And He brought us the rain. I spoke to a lady today, a store owner. She says to me, "It's a bracha, it's a blessing." And I thought to myself, that blessing came right after that very non-blessing. And maybe those people, in some spiritual way, of course, I don't know, and I'm not God, and I'm not saying anything that I know, just a feeling that I had, and Ari Abramowitz backed me up and told me, like, if you had a feeling, if you heard that, God was saying something, but that's what I saw, a super, super sunny, like, month, drought here in winter, and then suddenly this attack, and then winter came. Around the world, there are many people who want to bless Israel. We got our non-Jewish, oftentimes Christian, and just lovers of Israel, lovers of the Bible throughout the world. And I have 2 such gentlemen sitting with me right now in my office, and that's Steve Werp and his son Samuel. And Steve is the purveyor of a business, but really it's a labor of love. It's a type of it's maybe a business per se, but it's in fact a passion, and that is not only the love of Israel, but spreading the stuff of Israel, especially of Judea and Samaria, especially of Jerusalem, to the world, especially to the United States. And he's been bringing olive oil and handcrafts and everything you can think of, all the way even up to kosher locusts, to bring them from Israel and then storing them in America, and then traveling by RV throughout the lower states mostly, and giving people a chance to buy something from the land of Israel so they could have a piece of the rock, a piece of that feeling. Steve, thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's good to be here, Yishai. This is where I get my courage. This is where we get strengthened. This is where we find really our meaning, and that is coming alongside and helping build. Because I really believe that we've been given a place to come and support, to be a blessing, to undergird the Jewish communities out here that are actually doing the work of the Geulah. So just thanks for having us over here.
Well, we appreciate that very much, and you know what, I have to say, what you just said right now is just true. I mean, I feel in a sense that you're lucky, right? And that's what I think. I think to myself, you're a lucky guy.
I never dreamt about this. I mean, for all these years, I loved Israel, and I talked about Israel. We prayed for Israel, but until we actually engaged, until we walked this land, actually until we met people like you that are actually living this dream. We didn't understand our Bible. We didn't understand what God was doing. We had a philosophy, but this is really where our hearts met with God and understood where His heart was. So you can't do that unless you're really engaged. So I just encourage people, stop talking about Israel, stop praying about Israel, and engage. Be part of it. If you want to, you can have a part of this. And it starts when we honor, we respect, and we actually have a conversation. You know, for 2,000 years, we haven't been talking. We don't even know each other. And we are brothers. We're in this together. And this whole process of what Hashem is doing today, I really think He's waiting for us. I think He's waiting for the Christian people to understand His heart. And then things start changing.
I got a lot of non-Jewish, Bible-loving listeners to the show. They're all over the place. They're all over. They're all kinds of places. They're in Hupitz, Canada, and the here and there, and the Colorado, and all kinds of places in Switzerland. I got tons of non-Jewish people, and they feel these feelings themselves, and they you use that kind of language of like God's heart and that kind of thing. They're looking to see. They're looking in their Bible. They're like, God says, I'm going to bring the Jewish people back to the land of Israel. It's going to happen. Then they see the rebirth of the state of Israel right after the Holocaust. They see miraculous wars. They're just like, I think this is it. I think this is that thing that was been told about. And a lot of people that don't see it, they look a little too closely in it. Because when you look too closely, I like to say, even a supermodel, if you zoom in, all the way to one of her pores, it may not be the most beautiful thing, but you zoom out, you see, okay. My point is that the Israel thing, the rebirth of the Jewish people in the land of Israel, it's huge, it's unbelievable, it's gigantic. And I want to finish the sentence what I was starting before. I feel like you're a lucky person. Why do I feel like you're lucky? Even though you're helping us, I feel like you're lucky. Why? Because I think to myself, wow, he gets it. You know what I mean? Wow, he really, he's got a chance in his life to plug into this thing, which is purposefully not obvious anyway. It's purposefully not obvious. If God made it too obvious, then there would be game over. God makes it a little bit hidden, a little bit unclear. And the people that are able to sift through the garbage and able to see the real light and beauty of what's happening right now, I think they're lucky. I think that you're lucky that you've dedicated your life to the cause of Israel.
I really for me, it's very obvious. And I think God is giving the whole world a choice. Whose side are you going to choose? Which place are you going to stand? Because I think the walking on the fence, trying to dance this dance, is not working anymore. You either walk with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and choose his kingdom, or you choose what's going on in the world. There's no two choices. And I think that goes for Christians, Muslims, the Jewish community, the Chinese. The whole world is focused on this place. Why? I mean, what is the population? How many Jews are there? 14, 17 million, like 0.1% of the whole world? I'd love to know what the land mass is. I don't right now. But why is the EU so focused on this? Why is the United States so focused on it? Why is the United Nations so focused on it? Why are the Arabs? Everybody seems to know that this is the focal point. This is where God put his name.
You're so right, and a lot of times, sometimes you kind of laugh at the obsession that the media has and the people have, and nobody wants to say what it really is. Mm-hmm. So they're like always telling you like there's a human rights crisis. I'm like, well, not really. Actually, when you think about it, it's not a crisis at all. It's actually relatively small. Our conflict here. Why are you obsessed? And they never want to say. Yeah, I think that either we want to stop God or we see that God is doing something, we want to be part of it, whatever it is, but they can't say it. Jews also, by the way, can't say it a lot of times. For example, when Muslims say, I think you're trying to undermine the Temple Mount, the Al-Aqsa, right? And what's the real answer? Of course we are. Of course we are. We want to build a third temple there. That's the truth. Right. That's the real truth. But they can't say it. Nobody can say it. Nobody can say, well, yeah, actually, the truth of the matter is that's our piece of real estate, and we want to build the third temple there. And yes, it'll be a house of prayer for all nations, but there's something not cool about the way it is right now, and we're gonna fix that down the line.
I think that's what a lot of Christians struggle with. They don't understand that this isn't just a Jewish thing. This is about all nations coming up in a place to work. It's God's presence returning to this place, his glory. It is where we can actually meet together. The world's going to come together someday. And this is the place where it's going to come together.
Mm. Beautiful, beautiful thought. Samuel, let's just talk like your dad talked a few minutes ago about, actually before I get to that. So you've been being hauled yourself for many years, going up and down the states and from America to Israel. To bring Israel's stuff to people. What was that like growing up like that?
It was awesome. I mean, we spent a lot of time in Walmart parking lots as our home, and so all of my toys that I grew up with were in packages. But it was amazing. It was an amazing journey to travel through the U.S. and to see people from all different walks of life who were interested in, and I would say after the fact, after we spoke about Israel, excited about what God is doing. That was incredibly life changing.
But, you and I before were talking about a different strand within Christianity, American Christianity, which has in it, a more, how should I say, you said to me, like, they just want, this group of people just want Chinese made, like a talit or something like that, or a shofar or something, to kind of be like, there's different streams within Christianity. And one classic stream is a type of replacement theology. And another classic stream, which, by the way, I understand where it comes from, is like thinking that the Jews are the Antichrist and the dark energy. And not everybody is going to like buy into an Israel-centered, an Israel-focused real, and not kind of like messianic and like a real, here's the real Israel today, we got to be part of it. So tell me from your perspective how that looks like, and how do we help people get into kind of the right zone?
I think it comes down to, what is God doing in the world? And so, and that was one of, and you're exactly right. What we were talking about is, I would stand at our table. We would be, say, at a marketplace or something, and there, everybody else around us is selling goods from China, but they look very Jewish. And so my job was to not only convince people that they need to buy, not Jewish goods or Jewish looking goods from China, but they need to buy actual Israeli products from Israel, supporting the Jewish people here. That was my job. And it wasn't just a job as in like telling them they need to buy from Israel or buy from Judea and Samaria. It was more of, you need to know the story, because God is doing something, especially in the land of Judea and Samaria, something that the world hasn't seen in 2,000 years, and you need to be a part of it. And so a lot of it is just telling people this story, because I would say mainstream Christianity does not know that story. And even if they do, that's something that I've talked about a lot, is go to the media. It doesn't matter if it's on the right or on the left. You hear Judea and Samaria, the West Bank. It's always negative, right? And so we need to change that story. Especially people that read their Bibles, especially people that have a connection to God, when they hear Judea and Samaria, I want them to think not, that place where there's always bad stuff happening in Israel. I want them to think, that's where, say, Yishai Fleisher lives. That's where Baruch and Batya, who make our products, Erdstein live. That's where, Ari Abramowitz and Jeremy Gimpel, like that's a place that I know, and I have people that I'm connected to there. I want to give people... I want to change the narrative of this place, because it's a beautiful land. It's a place where God is working, and the Jewish people that are here, they're here for a purpose and for a mission, and they're on a mission given to them by God, and we have the opportunity to be a part of that story. And so, his history is being written in our day, and we see now. Especially like what's happening in America, we see past this generation is now looking at past generations, what is happening, and they're making a statement. They're saying, you had this generation had a problem, and this. So what are they going to say about our generation? Are we the generation that saw what God was doing and didn't act? Or is this the generation that saw actually what God is doing and said, we want to be there, we want to make a difference, because God is working, and now it's up to us. We have the choice.
Very good. And one of the ways that you guys are doing it is through this website called blessedbyisrael.com. The by is B-U-Y. And the double entendre there is to say to you, you're blessed by Israel, but get stuff from Israel. And I would say, and I like that very much. I like the name very much, because as opposed to, and I tell this to almost every crowd that I speak with, I say to them, it's not that when you buy some kind of Israeli product, it's not that you're supporting Israel. It's that Israel's supporting you. You now have something of Israel in your house or in your body. You've eaten something. You've drank something.
Israel becomes part of you.
Right. Israel becomes part of you, right? So let's just talk for just 1 second about products. Tell me your top 3 selling products. What do people like out there? What do people love to buy?
Olive oil is top. Honey. And what did you say the third one is? We have so many others. Soap, ceramics, jewelry. And locusts. We have Israeli locust.
Homegrown.
So
wait, and it's kosher, the locust that you're selling?
They are kosher. We're working on the kosher stamp, but they are homegrown up on the Golan, and they come fresh to you, all freeze dried, and you can try them with some honey. You can use some hot sauce on them. You can use ranch. There's all kinds of ways you can taste up grasshoppers.
Everybody must be there must be a few. Like most people are probably hearing this and saying "ew." Some people are saying yum. I have eaten grasshoppers this past Rosh Hashanah, so I am what I eat. Yeah, I'm a believer now. That's right. I've been converted. You know what I mean? The spy said, we are grasshoppers in their eyes, but we say no, we eat grasshoppers. You know what I mean? And we become strong. I ate grasshopper on Rosh Hashanah with my friend Josh Wander, and it was kosher certified. It was I can't say it was great. It was fine. It was fine. It was I definitely felt a good protein buzz afterwards, and I definitely felt I hopped around the room for no particular reason afterwards. I think it makes you hop, but it is a great thing. It's a cool thing, and they say it's one of the superfoods of the future. It's protein filled, and it's easy to grow, and all that kind of stuff. So that's neat. And these are Jewish farmers that are growing these grasshoppers out there.
They're in a clean room. I mean, these are 100%. Clean room glow. I mean, they don't go wandering around finding those. These are actually raised.
So they're not free range? Wait a minute. I want free range grasshoppers. All right. The website is Blessed by Israel and blessedbyisrael.com with BUY in the middle there. And you're also down here right now in Hebron and the Hebron Hills looking for more olive oil, more organic olive oil. So you're looking for Jewish farmers to do their thing, and then to help sell it to the world. And I absolutely agree with you. And by the way, and I say this a lot, in the ancient world, we have found ships in the Mediterranean, sunken in the Mediterranean, carrying jars of olive oil, dates, olives, other things. That is what the land of Israel is famous for. It's got a special flavor. It's got a special taste that even in Spain and in south of France and Italy, they wanted the Israeli olive oil. There's something to it. So I understand that that was also something that from the past that has come to be. So Steve and Samuel, thank you very much. God bless you guys. And we'll see you soon with more people connected to this land. And I totally agree with you, Samuel. There's a bad narrative that's being weaved about Judea and Samaria. It's been weaved for a long time. I prefer to call it, by the way, just Judea. Yeah. That way it makes it clear Jews are from Judea, and this whole thing is Judea. That's just a simpler brand, I think. It's like you don't have to talk about every county. The region is called Judea. That's fine. And you're right. The enemies want to besmirch our name. And you guys are fighting on the front lines. Last comments.
Yeah, I would just encourage people to get involved. This is, I would say, as Dad started off, it's an honor for us, right? That we have the honor. And I just came from, before meeting with you, we just came from meeting with a shepherd from Chavat Ma'on, and was able to really support him, paid off a bunch of his debts from funds that we had raised in the U.S., and to be able to see just the relief and the smile and the joy that we could bring to this farmer. That is, it's one thing, to have a flock of sheep, say, in Australia or the United States. It's a whole nother statement to actually have shepherds on the mountains of Israel. And so come and be a part. That's the invitation of Blessed by Israel. It's not that we had things together. It's not that we're perfect. It's not that we are some special people. We saw a need and we filled it. And so that's the invitation to everyone. Come and be a part.
Right on. I get that. Steve?
Yeah, I think it's important for people to understand we're not here because of the past. We're not in Hebron because of the past, though it's wonderful. I mean, it's a foundation. Jerusalem, it's not Jerusalem of the past. This is about the future. And we are asking people to engage in the future. So when you come to Israel, when you walk this land, know that this is the future that God has planned for the world, for Jews, for the nations. So could just come and be a part of it.
Simple and awesome. There's a great future coming up. You just have to see it. Steve and Samuel Werp, blessedbyisrael.com. Thank you very much for being with me today. All right, Malka, I want to thank you so much for joining me today on the show. I know that you're busy, and the Shabbat is coming. I want to wish you a Shabbat Shalom. Malka, this Shabbat is the Ten Commandments. So let's do them, okay? The Ten Commandments are the source of life, are the source of real society and civilization. And somebody very smart told me that today the world that's anti-Israel and anti-Jewish values, they want to undo every one of the Ten Commandments. And he listed to me exactly how. I'm not going to go into it now. But the point is that this is the Shabbat of the Ten Commandments. This is Shabbat of the pillar of this world, the pillar of thought, of behavior, of a social contract, of a meaningful life. It is in the Ten Commandments. So I want everybody out there, Jew and non-Jew alike, certainly Jewish people, and of course our international Torah congregation out there to do the 10 Commandments to this Shabbat. That's why I want you to draw the 10 Commandments. I want you to make your kids draw a 10 Commandments version. I want to see Moses coming down.
10 Commandments cake.
10 Commandments cake. And your homework, if you choose to accept it,
Yes.
is to send me.
Na'aseh v'nishma, Yishai.
Na'aseh v'nishma. I want you to send me a picture. I want you to send me a picture of some kind of the 10 Commandments. I want to see those 10 Commandments. I want you to write me an email, yishai@yishaifleisher.com. I want you to send me a picture of the 10 Commandments in your house.
Hashtag 10 Commandments.
I want you to put hashtag 10 Commandments. I want to see it. Send it to me. I want to see your thing that in your house, somehow in your life, where the 10 Commandments exist, okay? There could be two, like, iPads, coming down. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, by the way, that we would have at the airport, like a Moses holding two iPads and, like, information coming down on it,
That's cute.
But, like, I want everybody out there to send me something from the 10 Commandments. I want to thank all the many fabulous people that were on the show today. I want to remind everybody that we are remembering Mark Golub, that we pray for the people in Syria and Turkey. I want to thank the WERPs. I want to thank I-24. I want to thank all the sponsors of the show. I want to thank all of you out there and bless you and send you my blessings. And of course, I want to thank Hashem, God Almighty, for giving us a chance to be part of it. We are not going to allow ourselves to be in the darkness, Malka. We are not going to allow ourselves to be subdued and cooled off by the forces of the Amalekites. No to Amalek. Get behind me, okay? It's not happening. We are moving forward with great energy and great heat and great passion and great devotion and great love for this time, for the mission that God has sent us on, for the rebirth of Israel, for the rebirth of spirituality in our time. Don't let everybody tell you that this is a time where God is dead. God has never been as alive. I mean, he's always alive, and he's always been as alive. But in terms of revelation to us, this is a great moment of revelation. Malka, I want to thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Kol hakavod on all your awesome clips this week.
That's right. I hope that they eclipse the darkness in your heart by a little bit of eclipse of the love of the land of Israel. Malka, thank you so much, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
There's a battle raging over a people and a land. Will you rage with the nations, or will you stand and say, I believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I believe in the words of the covenant spoken many